What's up, gamers? Welcome to episode 18 of the Busted Buttons video game podcast. In today's episode, we're going to continue talking spoiler-free about The Last of Us Part 2, our experiences with it so far, and also kind of the review bombing campaign that it's been going through here the last week or two. We're going to spend some time talking about just video game reviews in general. Are there any that we like? Are there any that we don't like? Do we even read them? And then we're going to kind of talk a little bit about some more teasers that we've gotten here in the last, here just recently. I feel like those teasers are coming hot and heavy here as we get closer and closer to the releases of the eventual PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. And while we're talking about the future, we're going to talk a little bit about the future of Nintendo and how we'll have a good discussion about if it needs to compete with Sony and Microsoft on power. And then while we're just going to talk a little bit about AAA video game budgets. And then unfortunately, we're going to spend just a couple of minutes kind of talking about the kind of the darker side of video games. There's been some unfortunate news and accusations levied at some pretty prominent characters. So unfortunately, always got to have a bad note in there somewhere whenever I put together the outline.
You had to have one negative thing in there going on 2 weeks ago when it was all negative shit. This one's a little more positive, but since Red's doing that outline, we got to throw a little shot, a little negativity in there.
Hey, unfortunately, gaming is not all fun and games every now and then, especially the industry. But we're going to kick right off here, continuing, like I said, spoiler-free discussion of The Last of Us Part 2. I am happy to announce my girlfriend did give it to me early before my birthday, so I have actually gotten to play it a little bit. But I know you've had your hands on it for a little bit longer than me, so have you had any other impressions or things you've loved, things you haven't loved about the game so far?
Man, it's just one of those games. I mean, I'm seeing the reviews. I'm like, there's no way. People are just kind of being, trolls is what I was thinking. And then I'm playing the game. I'm around 10 hours in right now. And man, I don't want to give too much away, but kind of there's a Mike Tyson gut punch at 2.5 hours. And then after that, and this is what people are complaining about, the story just kind of has a lull after that. And then recently, like I said, around the 9.5, 10 hour mark, there was another part of the story, like a cutscene, that I really did enjoy, but just that was a really long lull. And yes, I am enjoying the game so far, but here's the thing. The first game, it was the story. At least for me, that's what made the game. And you had the cutscenes, there weren't a ton of them, but they were more consistent throughout the game. Like you're getting story, and that's what made it so great. Yeah. And this one, there's a lot of gameplay, and that's cool, but that's not why I love The Last of Us. I love it because of that story. And so me, okay, the game is beautiful. I've already said that. I don't know if there's a better looking game out there. The gameplay is solid. Kind of changing the weapons and swapping weapons is getting to me a little bit. But you know what? That's, a mechanic I can get around. I'm not too worried about it. So as far as how the game was developed and stuff, I'm really, really enjoying it. But there's that magic so far. 10 hours in, there's that magic of the first game that for me is somewhat missing. And some of these reviews now, the ones that are 0 and 2 and 3, no. Yeah. I think you can completely take away the story, but you just use them the beauty of the game and the mechanics. And right there, it's higher than a 0 or a 3. But I kind of understand people's complaints so far. The story's just not strong. But, I'm only 10 hours in. Like I said, hopefully that's not any spoilers. It's definitely not any spoilers for the story. It's kind of just talking about,
the flow,
what certain hours are doing what. But hopefully it gets a little bit better. But I do, like I said, I understand people's complaints. How do you feel about the game so far? How far are you in, first of all? And then how are you feeling about it?
Well, I'm only a couple hours in, so I have not really gotten into that lull period that you're talking about. But I do kind of agree with your general sentiment. I know that this game, and I'm sorry, my cat's trying to hack up a hairball next to me. So if you guys hear a little thump in the background, that's my fault. But anyway, so no, and now I've totally lost my train of thought. Thanks, cat.
Well, I was taking a drink of water when your cat was causing problems, so I just kind of wasn't even paying attention to you. You were talking about The Last of Us Part 2,
anyway,
I think.
Yeah, no, it's so I'm only a couple hours in. Like you said, it's an absolutely stunning game in terms of the beauty of it. The controls feel already a little tighter than they did in the first one. That was one of my few complaints with the first The Last of Us. It just, after going from Uncharted straight to The Last of Us, the controls felt a little less precise, and that may have been intentional because it's more of a survival game than a straight up action game like the Uncharted games were. So for The Last of Us Part 2, the controls feel a little tighter, you maneuver a little better, the shooting feels really solid. I can't comment on the story yet just because I haven't got to experience much of it. I'm basically in the prologue still. But I do know that this game was.
So have you gotten that gut punch yet? Because you know when it happens.
I have not gotten to the gut punch yet. So
you'll know when you hit it.
I'm sure. But I know they said that this game was going to be 10 or 15 hours longer than the original. And when that kind of news came out, that made me a little concerned about what you're talking about. That lull in the story where you're just going to have some dead time where it really is just gameplay. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I don't want an entire game that's just cutscenes.
Yeah.
But, when you're trying to pad the length a little bit, even if it is to introduce more gameplay mechanics or like bigger fights, more strategic fights, whatever, you always run to that risk of just padding a little bit, just padding it. And it's like, is it really worth it? Or would you rather have a more condensed experience that is like keeps you going all the way through and doesn't have those like story downtimes? And I think Naughty Dog has always done a great job of walking that fine line. Like the Uncharted's rarely have downtime. The first The Last of Us had almost no downtime. It's like your heart's racing all through their games. So when they said it was going to be a longer experience, I was a little worried that something like that could come out. Now when it comes to the reviews,
how do you remember how long the first game took?
I think it was under 20 hours.
I was thinking like 15 to 20 hours. So, man, it's like a 35-hour game. Like, for a linear game, that might be a little too long, but go ahead.
No, I'm with you. But you kind of touched on like some of the ratings out there. And that's something I really wanted to spend a few minutes talking about is just this. It seems like this review bombing campaign, as they call it, that's going on against this game. Because if you jump on a site like Metacritic, you see like the critical scores from like actual game journalists are sitting there at 9.4, 9.5, and the user scores are down at like 4, 4.5. There for a while, they were around 3, and it's just part of it. It's like, it makes you wonder why. Like, what are people frustrated about? Because like you mentioned, if the mechanics are great and the graphics are great, but you don't like the story, you're still talking, two of the main 3 components of a video game, in my opinion, are there. I mean, you can't give it a 0 or a 1 because you don't like the story. To me, that is absolute, utter bullshit. It's fucking just people being bitter about whatever it is. And I'm honestly like, I have not read hardly any of the 0 or 1 out of 10 reviews because I don't want to get the game spoiled. I don't want to get the spoilers. So, but I have read a couple articles that kind of talk about some of the reasons why. And it seems like one of the biggest ones is just like people were pissed that it got so many 10 out of 10 ratings from the actual publications. Like a lot of publications have given it a great score. I mean, as you see from that critical 9.5. And I think just, first of all, another person's review should not impact your enjoyment of a game. If you're pissed because a game you may not be interested in or you don't think deserved a 10 out of 10, guess what? That should not impact your enjoyment or lack of enjoyment of a game whatsoever. So it blows my mind. People be like, oh, there's no way I don't want this to be the highest rated game ever, blah, 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 whatever. So I'm going to give it a 0 or a 1. To me, that is just fucking sour grapes. And it pisses me off that some people might just be that bitter because, oh, someone else really enjoyed this game. I'm not interested in it though, so I'm going to give it a 0 just out of spite.
You know how gamers are. There are a lot of them. Like, I love you all gamers. I do. Like, I really do.
We do.
I hate you at the same time. It's a love-hate relationship sometimes because there are a lot of gamers out there that are just bitter. That just want to, somebody ranked this really good. Oh, I don't agree exactly with their ranking, so I'm going to drop it down. They're fucking bitter, man. And we've complained about these types of gamers. Not all gamers are like this. There are a lot of gamers out there that do appreciate their art, but there are a lot of gamers that are honestly punk-ass bitches. That's what they really are. And so, sorry if that makes you mad, gamers, but you're out there. You're out there. I'm not going to hold back. This is TGPZ Gaming, damn it. We're a little more edgier. We're a little more in your face. So, yeah, the reviews... This game, no way in hell this game is a 0 or a 1 or a 2. Like we already said, you have like 2 or 3 of the main components that are just nailing it. Yeah, the story's not there yet, but I think what's happening is these gamers, they're getting their panties in a bunch and they're getting upset because they expected this great story. And so far, because there's no way people have finished, regular people, there's no way they got it and finished it that quickly. Like, we're talking about
reviews were going up within a couple hours of the game going live.
Yeah, so you start the game, you played it for 3 or 4 hours. You didn't get that hard. Well, you did get a gut punch, I think, but maybe it didn't. Like, it wasn't as much of the first game, and you went online and you bitched. People are just jumping the gun, and that's why you gotta play the game all the way through. You gotta get the full experience because the story so far from what I've gone through is kind of, bland, not as great as the first one, but it might pick up. So you got to get that full experience. Don't play a game for 5 hours and go online and bitch about it. If y'all wonder why I'm mad, this is the first podcast that Red and I aren't drinking because we're recording it at like 11 a.m. So, that's a little bit too early to start drinking for us.
You got a little bit of an edge right now.
But since we're not drinking, we're a little mad. I don't have that beer to calm me down. So I might just be pissed off the whole damn podcast. But
hey, it wouldn't be the first one.
Yeah, here's one thing that I found actually kind of not cool about the game. But, most of it takes place, I think most people know the city, but I won't say it. But it takes place in a city. How cool would it be if you lived in that city and, like, you're going around the game and you're seeing all these landmarks? Like, okay, the game doesn't take place in Indy. I wish it did because I would see all this stuff that I know. And I just thought, that would be so cool. It's kind of a random, like, off topic. We really don't have to go into it.
Oh, it's okay.
Because I want to throw something back to you. I just thought that was cool. It would have been really cool to live in that city and kind of see these. I'm sure there's some fictional stuff, but there's got to be some similar buildings because they got to hold true to what the place actually looks like. But anyways, here's kind of a touchy subject, and we try to stay away from subjects like this. Because we try to be lighthearted, even though most of Red's outlines are negative. We do try to bring a lot of positivity, a lot of lightheartedness, a lot of fun. We want people to laugh, have a good time. But let's have a hard-hitting subject right here. Do you think people are somewhat against the game because there's a gay or lesbian lead character?
Unfortunately, I'm sure there are some. I mean, even in, fucking 2020? Jeez, we're halfway through 2020. And there's still a lot of people out there who are against gay, LGBT, whatever characters or not characters, but like in real life. And so I do think there is, and hopefully it's a very tiny minority of people who feel that way, but it unfortunately is something that rears its head sometimes in not just video games, but movies, TV shows. Yeah. Like every now and then people will be like, certain people, like I said, hopefully it's a very small group of people are like, no, this is a bad influence. You shouldn't be showing LGBT characters, anything like that. And so I do think that there's a small percentage of people who probably are giving it 0 or 1s because like, no, we can't have this gay main character. First of all, there was nothing in the first one about her being gay. Now you're just throwing it in there. People accusing Naughty Dog of being, the white knight.
She was like 4 or 5 years younger than the first one.
Right.
She might not even know what her sexuality was at that time.
Exactly. But, some people will accuse like the developer of being like a social justice warrior and they're like, oh, they just had to put it in there. I do think that there's a very small minority of people who feel that way. And to those people, I just say, fuck you. It's 2020. Yeah. Love whoever the hell you want. Is that such a bad thing? So
that was my opinion. Like, I know we're not past this, but when you put this on the outline, I was like, man, we got to get past this. Because, like, when I found out she was a lesbian, I was like, I didn't even think about it. No. I was like, okay, she's a lesbian. And, I moved on in the game. Yeah. Like, it wasn't even a second thought. But, like you said, there are people out there that, are homophobic. That's what they are. And it's sad because, yes, it's 2020. Let's get past this. Like, it doesn't affect your life. So, it doesn't. Why do you even care, man? So, I don't know. It's not a thing to me. Like, I just didn't care. I was like, okay, she's a lesbian. Fine. Like, I moved on. I didn't think about it at all. So, plus, it's just sad that we're not past this point yet in the year 2020. But
plus, this poor girl lives in a small community. Her love options of people her age are pretty damn small.
That's true. And there's fucking infected walking around people, okay?
Right? You find love wherever you can get it in
your life might be different if you had infected walking around all the time trying to kill you. You might do things a little bit differently. You don't know. You've never been in that situation. But anyways.
Oh, God, I hope not.
let's get off of the Last of Us Part 2 and kind of speaking about reviews. Let's just really talk about video game reviews in general, and I'm gonna throw it to you on this. Like reviews, like do you like pay attention to them? Do you read them? Do you watch them? What's kind of like because we've been bashing reviews so far, but
yeah, we have.
Like, what's your overall opinion of them?
I honestly, I don't read. I can't even talk right now. I need that beer now. I don't read a lot of reviews. For one thing, a lot of them are spoiler heavy, and they try not to be, but you still get spoilers when you read reviews. And for me, I keep enough of a finger on the pulse of the video game, just kind of what's going on, that I know when a game that I want to play is coming up. And if I already have my mind set that I'm gonna play a game, then I'm going to. I mean, regardless of reviews, like there's like Cyberpunk 2077 is coming up. I'm going to buy that sight unseen. Like that is a must buy. Like I don't care if reviews come out, start bashing it. I'm still going to play it myself. Like I want to experience it. So honestly, I get more of my like news about good games or surprise good games from social media. I mean, I follow like a lot of gaming stuff, a lot of gaming people on Twitter. And just that's when I found out, like, I know we've used Spider-Man as an example before of a game that kind of came out of nowhere and surprised us for how good it was. That's where I picked up the buzz from that game, was just reading on social media that people were like, wow, this was like a surprisingly great game. I'm like, oh, well, shit, Black Friday sale, I'll pick it up for myself and try it out. So for me, I don't pay a whole lot of attention to reviews. Part of it is I can't get to most gaming websites on my work computer when I'm at work.
Oh, that sucks.
Thanks, WebSense or whoever our filter is.
Yeah. That sucks.
but yeah, so for me, it's like Twitter or our Facebook feed or Discord, now that that's been up and running for a little while. I feel like that's where I hear about games now. And to be perfectly honest, I know a lot of people out there play a lot more indie games and smaller games. But to me, you know, if it's a big AAA game coming up, we generally know about it. And that's kind of what I play more than anything, just because time, honestly. And I don't have a lot of time to weed through a lot of like smaller indie games to find the good ones from the bad. But with most AAA games, there's some level of quality to them. You know, they're not just going to put hopefully, they're not just putting total absolute garbage out there. So for me, I don't really read a lot of reviews. How about you? Do you like go digging into them, or you usually kind of jump in sight unseen with games?
No, I really don't pay too much attention to them. I mean, I do. If I do watch or read anything, it's usually IGN's video reviews. I like watching the video review actually more than I do reading it. But no, I really don't pay attention to them because I know what I want to play. Yeah. And so, like, it doesn't matter what the reviews are. Like, if I'm like, okay, I'm going to get that game. It doesn't matter if it's a 0 or a 10. I'm going to get it. Now, here's where kind of, not necessarily reviews, but you hear people talking about, okay, let's take a game, like he said, Spider-Man, that we really don't think we're going to play. If a game is good, like, you will hear from it, like, you know, word of mouth. You will hear about it. So, you know, that's kind of what I pay attention to. Okay, I have these games. I know I'm going to play them. I most likely will enjoy them because that's why I'm buying them, because I think I will enjoy them. And then after that, it's just word of mouth, man. You hear enough people talking about a game. It's like shows, really. If a show or a game or movie is good, you hear enough people talking about it until where you're like, okay, maybe I will go check this game
jump
out.
On board.
So when it comes to reviews, no, I don't really pay attention to them. I'll check out one here and there. I'll usually check them out for older games. Like, let's say a game's been out 2 or 3 years. I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to go back, you know, I might watch an IGN review, like video review, and see kind of how they rank that game. But as far as new games, I don't really check them out because you made a good point, spoilers. Now, a lot of them do stay away from spoilers.
They do a good
just
job.
Little things like saying, you know, oh, the story's not that good. While it's not necessarily a spoiler, it kind of tells you something about how the game plays out. So
plus something like that can taint your mindset when you go into the game. I know actually on our Discord server, someone was talking about that. Like when you read something, whether it's positive or negative, that's just implanted in your head when you pick up the game to play it yourself. So like all these people talking about The Last of Us, you know, the story not living up to the first one. I'm like, now I'm going in with this mindset. I'm like, I'm still going to like this game, but I don't think it's going to be, you know, and you don't want having that negative association when you go into a game. So I know we've talked a lot about The Last of Us and we're trying to talk about general reviews, but that's just a good example of where a review saying something like that, like the story's not as good. It's going to negatively affect the way you look at the game going in. It's just, and I try to avoid that as much as possible, you know, so, but that does go both ways. I remember people talking about, and Spider-Man's a great example. People talked about how good swinging around New York City was. So when I jumped in there, I'm like, holy shit, this really is awesome. So sometimes it's not always negative. Sometimes it's positive, but
but like I said, that was word of mouth for me. Like I just heard people talking about it. I was like, okay, I'll check out this game. And then like God of War. Like I didn't plan on getting that at first because I never really got into the franchise, but I heard a crap ton of people, you included, talking about that game. So I was like, all right, I think I actually did watch a video review on that one. And then I was like, okay, all these people are talking about it, so I'll check it out. But as far as, like I said, like new games going in, no, I don't really check out the reviews. I don't really care, to be honest with you, because there's too many differing opinions. And my opinion is not going to be the same as any of those other people's opinions. So to me, it doesn't matter. I know he kind of talked about, here's the other thing with the reviews. some of them rank a game highly because they might have that certain person paying for advertising on their site. There's some kind of financial relationship
There's an
going on.
there.
So, they are skewed a little bit, which, you know what, people, like I always say, you got to think about things from the business side sometimes. You go and sit there and you're going to bitch about it. What if you had a website in your own company? You know what? You're going to take that money to do stuff like this too. So, here's the no beer talking again. Shut up. Shut up. These people, they're trying to make money. They're trying to make money so they can do more with their website. So, you know what? If somebody like Night Dog pays for an advertisement on your website and you rank game a little bit higher, you know what? That's how the pimp business world works. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. But, it doesn't really bother me because that's sort of what I expect. Okay, you're paying somebody some money somehow, so you're going to give them a little better review. That's how human nature works. That's how the world works. But, kind of what's your opinion on it?
I expect, too, that, for most games that have the kind of buzz that The Last of Us did, that, any big, massive, hyped release like that is generally going to review higher. I mean, whether it's because of the advertising money, whatever it is, or people just go in with the preconceived idea, or they're just like, hey, this is a big AAA game. Like we talked earlier, there's going to be quality to it. Like it's going to look good. It's going to control well, most likely. Everything else is kind of margins. They're important margins. They make or break the difference between a 10 rated game and a 7 rated game. But, I feel like there's a certain floor for most highly hyped AAA games. Like it is not going to get below like a 7. Yeah. And I'm fine with that because the quality will be there with a big AAA game, and yes, you may not like some of the mechanics, you may not like the story, you may not like whatever, but at the same time, it's like, there's a certain level of quality there that automatically means it's going to do okay. And the other big thing, other than like the advertisements, things like that, a lot of these journalists or, gaming journalists get advanced copies of the games to review so that they can have a review ready to go as soon as like it's released. And I've heard cases online and, all of it's unconfirmed. It's hard to know for sure. It's all he said, she said. But, people are like, I gave a game a bad review. So for that developer's next game, they didn't send us an advanced copy. Yeah. So we couldn't, it's like a little bit of that, hey, you bashed us last time. Why am I going to help you? Like you said, it's that you scratch my back, I scratch yours thing. It's like, so I do get it. It is a business, and a lot of these websites run on advertising revenue and clicks. So they got to get those reviews up quick, and they got to make money off their ads. So it's one reason that I will always take some of these quote unquote professional reviews with a little bit of a grain of salt, but I will still trust them over these user reviews, as we've seen with The Last of Us. There's no way in hell this is a 0 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10 game. So I will take the slimy business side and still get a decent critical look at the game over these fucking internet gamer trolls who have a stick up their ass about something. Who the hell knows what? So, God, we both do need more beer, don't we?
The No Beer Podcast, we're just fucking angry.
This is turning into an angry episode. Well, let's try to switch from bashing on these reviews and stuff of past. There has been some good news here in the last couple of weeks. We've gotten some teasers. I know we've talked a lot about teasers here with the PlayStation reveal. We've got the Xbox one coming up in July. But we have seen a little bit of teasers for a couple of games that are upcoming that have definitely caught my interest here recently. And one of them, I'm a little disappointed that we haven't got any gameplay or cutscenes or anything like that. But we did get a tiny little teaser for Halo Infinite, which we all know is an Xbox Series X launch title. I'm very stoked for it. But all we got was a little bit of a voiceover, and I know we're going to get a lot more in their July event. I don't know the exact date for that off the top of my head, but what are you hoping to, what are you hoping to see when they finally reveal some Halo Infinite action?
First of all, like all these points on these games, I didn't watch any of this stuff. So, I'm busy with the house. We just moved to a new house. So, I really didn't check it out, but here's my thing. Okay, it might just been a small voiceover, but it's something. And I kind of talked about this, like the Elder Scrolls 6, like all we've seen so far is like a little flyover, not much of the game, but it tells you that, hey, we are working on it.
It's
so
coming.
Just something simple like and Zelda, like Nintendo needs to do more of this with Zelda. We got Breath of the Wild trailer like over a year ago, and we've not seen anything since. And it doesn't even have to be a lot. Like it can literally be like 10 seconds of just Ganondorf talking, or hey, let's get Link talking. Y'all know my point of view on this. Let's finally get Link talking so we can move him into the future to compete with these other games where all the fucking protagonists talk. God dang it.
No, I do wish Nintendo would dole out just a little. I know we're getting a little off the topic of what we're talking about. Just give us a little bit of something, because you see every time anything about Zelda comes out, you see the online community explode. Like YouTubers, content creators, streamers all dissect it and break it down. So you can imagine you could keep the buzz going about your game just by dropping little 10, 15, 20-second clips. I mean, they can be cryptic so that people are trying to decipher it. They can be, you know, in your face and people can react to that. It's just, it keeps it in people's consciousness if you give us something. So anyway, go ahead. I'm with you on that one.
With Halo Infinite, first of all, I just want to see like what the graphics look like. Now I know that's not going to transfer over, you know, well, because like you're streaming a 4K, but then somebody might be watching it on a 1080p, so that's not going to come over so well. So, but I just want to see the graphics. I want to see the location. I mean, it's a Halo game. For the most part, we know what it's going to be like, but maybe a little bit of a story in there, maybe some new vehicles, some spaceships,
some weapons,
just little
maybe
things here and there. But it doesn't matter. Like, I don't need that much. Like, you can show me nothing of a new Halo game, and I'll buy it.
Yep, I'm with you there.
So, like, what, you know, it kind of comes down to that point, like, when you're already going to buy a game, I don't like to see a lot of it, because I want there to be as much of a surprise as possible. So, like, just little things like right here, like here and there, I would like. But overall, you know, just change it to fucking Halo 6 and I'll be happy. Why do we gotta get so technical with the name? Is it a spin-off? Is it a regular part of the series? Well, if it's a regular part of the series,
just
why is it not
6.
named 6? You know, so why, you know, change the damn name. Change the damn name of Halo and change the damn name of your new Xbox system, and I'll be a lot happier about that stuff than I will get anything on Halo. But
hey,
you know,
Microsoft's all over the place on these damn naming conventions.
Yeah,
we agree on that.
They really are. But I know, like I said, I've not checked out either of these. I've looked into them, so hopefully you have or know more about than I do.
At least looked into them.
But I know they also kind of talked about the Marvel's Avengers stream, where I know nothing about that. And then also Pokemon, I don't know how to say. Is it Pokemon? It's Pokemon. Pokemon Unite. Like, I mean, go ahead. What have you heard about those games? What do you think about the games? And what do you think about the games?
Well, I'll actually start with Pokemon Unite. It's like it's a 5-on-5, what they call a MOBA, multiplayer online battle arena. It's basically 5-on-5. You're trying to take over control points and eventually destroy your opponent's base. League of Legends is the biggest one in the world right now, and you control these hero characters. So I thought, like, just basically replacing heroes with Pokemon, it's a natural fit, because every Pokemon has its own unique attacks, and Pokemon games at their core are battles. You know, you always hear about the Pokemon battles. So I think it's a good fit. I hope it's a success. I am not a Pokemon fan or a MOBA fan, so this one's not really on my radar at all. But it is, I know there are people who love MOBAs, as you can see by the popularity of League of Legends, and there are people who love Pokemon. So it seems like a natural marriage between the two. I hope it is a success just for Nintendo's sake, but it's not something I'll be checking out. There's no release date, but it will be coming to Switch and mobile, and they're supposed to have crossplay between the two. So you could play people on Switch while you're on your mobile and vice versa. So now Marvel's Avengers, I'm a little bit more curious about. It's like a multiplayer cooperative co-op action game where you're playing as the Marvel characters, the Avengers. And we got a good stream of it. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I kind of clicked through. It showed some like story points for Thor, and also showed some like the co-op action and the way some of your powers can be combined and used together. So that one's kind of on my radar, but that is one I'm going to wait and see what the word of mouth, like we talked about, what that word of mouth is out there on the street when it comes out. Because I mean, I like the Avengers. I've liked all these Marvel films, but I'm not like such a diehard fan that it's a day one buy. And plus, I don't play a lot of co-op games anymore at this point in my life. So, and if the single player experience isn't really there or not very beefy, then, you know, it'll probably be a skip for me. But I'm waiting to hear. I am waiting to hear. I hope it's a success. Like I said, I like the Avengers. It's fun. And that's supposed to be coming out September 4th for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC. And then I'm sure that they'll be backwards compat with the PlayStation 5 and the Series X once they come out. So because I know that Marvel's putting a lot of money into that, and you know, and I hope it's successful. I really, both of those, like Avengers and the Pokemon Unite, neither of them are right up my alley, but I hope they're successful just because I don't want to see games fail. You know,
Yeah.
I like the more good games out there, it's better for everyone. It's more variety, more choice. So
I mean,
we'll see.
Pokemon, it almost always succeeds.
It
I mean,
does.
I'm sure there was a bomb here or there, maybe. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm not a Pokemon fan, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
for the most part, these Pokemon games, they are successful. And then Marvel's Avengers, I'm kind of like you, same boat. You know, I'll kind of check it out, see what people are saying.
Yeah.
You know, one superhero's powers are enough for me. So when you start combining all these other ones, you know, that's one of those, there might be like a little bit too much going on for me. Like you're talking about combining attacks and all that. Like I have a hard enough time remember my own attacks and my own skills. And like God of War, like I got all these skills and abilities and I didn't even use most of them. So
I'm with you there.
You know, one thing I'm kind of Marvel's Avengers. I didn't get, I watched like one of the, or not one, I watched more than one, but I watched a few of the like 1,556 video or movies that they released.
There's about right.
You know, I didn't watch all of them. I'm not into all the superheroes. So for me, I'm thinking probably a pass, but, you know, I'll keep my ears to the street, kind of hear what everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
Then make my decision. You know, maybe you'll buy it, and then I'll kind of like talk to you about it.
Absolutely.
But kind of going along with the last one, Cyberpunk 2077. There was also a live stream about that. Guess what? I didn't watch it. So I actually did plan on watching this one, and I just got a little bit busy yesterday. Like I said, I got a ton of stuff. We just moved into a new house, so I got a ton of stuff I'm doing around the house. So I did have this one up. I started it. Oh, that's when the plumber came.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember we were supposed to do our podcast yesterday. I canceled because of Grubhub, and then also the plumber. Well, the plumber actually wasn't supposed to be there, and then he came during the time we would have been doing the podcast, and that's the time that is designated, since the podcast was already canceled, to watch the Cyberpunk 2077. So when you guys wonder why I can't get the crap, it's crap like this in my life that happens where I can't watch something, but
real life does get in the way.
Yeah, it doesn't. Cyberpunk 2077, it doesn't matter. Like, I can watch a live stream, I cannot watch a live stream. I'm going to buy it. CD Projekt Red, they made The Witcher 3. Okay, it doesn't matter. You got me. You got me, but did you watch the live stream? And if you did, kind of what are your overall thoughts on it?
I did, and the first thing that jumped out, and of course I know for like a live stream and trailers, this is almost always going to be the case. It looks beautiful. Like, it looks amazing. If you've played The Witcher 3, you know that, which you have, but if our listeners have played Witcher 3, you know that CD Projekt Red is capable of putting out some beautiful, beautiful graphics, both their character designs, their scenery, like the setting, all that stuff. And I do love the look of the setting for this game. Like, it's a very dark city. It seems like everything that we've seen has mostly been nighttime, but it's all neon. There's so much neon. It reminds me of something like Las Vegas at night. And I know that's like the whole like Blade Runner cyberpunk visual. It's like very dark, very gritty, but then just lit up with this neon. So I'm very excited to it. But then we did also get to see driving around actually in this desert area that they said is outside the main city, and it looks like a desert and it's daytime. And to me, it was just a very like good contrast to what we saw in the city. He's got like the dark, gritty, neon lit city, and then you're driving out in the desert. And it kind of made me think a little bit of like Grand Theft Auto 5, where you've got the city, you've got all this giant city, but then you've got the desert out around it. It made me think of that. And just more than anything else, this is clearly going to be a very mature game. I mean, even just in the trailer, they were dropping F-bombs, lots of violence. I mean, it's just the language, sex is supposed to be a big part of this, because just this whole like just gender identity is supposed to be a big a function in this game, where you can replace body parts with cybernetics. So like, at what point are you even a man or a woman anymore? You know? So, and then just there's this kind of investigative concept that they're calling brain dance, where you can actually relive like a crime scene or a series of events from either like a first person view of the person who experienced it, or you can even pan out and kind of like see and hear what was going on around the person. And it seems like it's going to be a very fun way to investigate crimes. It reminds me of like if they took like the Witcher sense from Witcher 3 and just put it on steroids and like blew it up. And my only concern is I hope that like that kind of investigation stuff doesn't drag down the game too much, like slow it down too much. But it looks really interesting and a fun way to like investigate whether it's crimes or whatever it is that you're investigating. It seems like a unique concept to be like relive it through someone else's eyes. So I'm curious to see how they implement it. I hope it's not just something that's gimmicky, but we'll see. We'll see. Like you said, CD Projekt Red has my trust, undisputably. So I'm going to be buying Cyberpunk 2077 when it eventually comes out. But
that's the thing you had to remember is it is an open world game. In The Witcher 3, the land was humongous. So
it was.
While they're showing all this stuff happening in a dark city, the game is so much larger than that.
Oh,
and
I
they're not going to show that stuff until it gets closer to release. So
I'm with you.
It's going to be I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a great game, but I feel like it is going to be a great game. They're going to probably have, like you said, some cities, this dark, all this neon stuff going on. And then there's going to be some desert out there, some land, it's open world. You're going to have different landscapes in the game. So I'm really excited for it. I can't wait for it. I have to wait for it. I don't have a choice. Yeah. But I'm excited for it to come out. But kind of while we're talking about future games, we had an interesting discussion on our Discord lately about Nintendo and its future. And this revolved a lot around... I can't talk. This is a no beer podcast. You would think that I could talk better without beer, but apparently I cannot. But kind of going along with the future of Nintendo, this conversation was based around power. Okay, they got the mobile aspect, they got that gimmick going on. Obviously it's working because the Nintendo Switch is selling like crazy. But and I'm going to transfer this to you here in a second. Going forward, Nintendo's going to run out of gimmicks. There's not always going to be a gimmick there. So if they want to keep competing in the future, here's my question to you. Do you think that they need to have power and compete with Xbox One Xbox and PlayStation?
At some point, I really think they need to. I mean, like you said, Nintendo has been running out gimmicks for their last, 3 or 4 consoles now, going back as far as the Wii. Mm-hmm. The Waggles, the Wii U had the gamepad, and now the Switch is a full-blown convertible, for lack of a better name.
Yeah.
And at some point, you're going to run out of ideas. And as Sony and Microsoft continue to flaunt the power and the speed of their systems, I mean, yes, Nintendo will always have its built-in loyal fan base for its first-party games, but come on, at some point, Nintendo, you gotta get into the 21st century and really start competing with these guys in terms of power, because 4K is almost the norm now, especially for people buying video game consoles. And the fact that we've not even heard of a Switch Pro. I know there were rumors at one point of a Switch capable of doing just 4K gaming. I'm not saying you need ray tracing and HDR and particle effects and all this other craziness, but just getting into 4K would already put it on not equal footing, but closer to equal footing with Sony and Microsoft. So I do firmly believe at some point that Nintendo needs to get there. I don't think they'll ever be 100% one for one in terms of power, just because that's not been their strategy going back as far as the GameCube or so. So I'm curious to see what it's going to take, how many generations it takes for them to decide, okay, we're not going to compete necessarily 1 for 1, but we at least need to hit a minimum threshold, a minimum bar of power and graphics if we want to hope to stay competitive. And, as prices continue to rise for these consoles, people aren't going to keep paying $500 for a system that's not doing 4K and looking really gorgeous. So to me, I do think at some point they need to step up their power game. I know the Wii was just a massive success. The Switch so far has been a massive success without the graphical horsepower of the rest of them. But at some point, I think they got to step up to the plate and say, hey, yeah, okay, we can do 4K as well. We can do all these other gadgets and effects as well. It's just at least to hit some kind of minimum threshold. But what about you? What do you think about them trying to eventually catch up in terms of power with your Microsofts and Sonys?
Okay, first of all, I think they can definitely compete 1-to-1. I think they can blow Sony and Microsoft out of the water. Nintendo, I've always said they have that magic. They always do stuff that you don't think that they can do. And so I completely agree with you. Yes, I want to say I would love the Switch, but I've not played the Switch in a long time. And that's kind of why we're talking about this. Before the Switch came out, I was hoping the next Nintendo console was power. Just straight up power and compete with the Xboxes and the PlayStations, because it's like we both have said, those gimmicks are going to run out someday. There's only so many things that you're able to do. Like this whole mobile aspect, you did it. Yeah, it might progress into the future, but you're not going to be able to bring that as a new gimmick ever again. And these new gimmicks that the other video game consoles have not done, they're going to cease to exist one day because everything has been done that we can think of. And so, yes, if they want to keep on competing, I think they got to come with the power. They got to come with the 4K or, if it's down the road, I guess it'd be 8K.
8K even,
what they're going with right now. But, I think, here's the thing. I think Nintendo can compete. I think they can do it 1-to-1. I think they do have the technology. They definitely have the brains to do it. So, I want to see Nintendo get on the same level as Xbox and PlayStation, and I want to see them release at the same time because the release cycle now is completely off with the Xbox and the PlayStation. Now, a lot of people might say, hey, it's smart not to release alongside those systems, but Nintendo can do it. They can absolutely do it. And here's the thing, I don't play a lot of third-party games on the Switch because of the graphical capabilities of the system. So if you have the power behind it, I might play more third parties on your system, and that's really what Nintendo needs to focus on. Now, they do have one advantage right now, and that's being able to play third-party games like, on the go, but that's not how I play my Switch. And I know I'm not like every gamer. We have a lot of people on our Discord that love to be able to play third-party games on the go, so it definitely appeals to some people, but in the future, I think they guys not necessarily switch it up, but one of these days, I think they got to bring that power. I hope they do because I think the gimmicks, like you said, they're going to run out. And here's the thing. Imagine we're talking about third-party games. Imagine their first-party games in 4K because Nintendo has...
They're beautiful already.
Here's the magic I'm talking about. I'm going to take all the points, Red.
That's okay.
You know what? You go ahead and talk about it because I'm willing to talk about the art style, but I'll let you have it.
No, but it's like we always say, Nintendo gets the most out of their systems because their art styles for their first-party games are always so good. Breath of the Wild is as beautiful as your Horizon Zero Dawns and your Witcher 3s in a different way, but it's still gorgeous. Super Mario Odyssey.
But it's running at 900p versus, well, not all the games are at 4K, but they're like, 1440 or something.
Yeah. So for me, it's like imagine a game like Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, anything like that, but in 4K with all the graphical bells and whistles. They can keep the same art style. They don't need to go for photorealism, and they can still look absolutely gorgeous. And if they want to keep the mobile aspect, which I know it's hard to get the same kind of horsepower out of a mobile system and keep a good battery life and not have the thing melt in your hands from getting too hot. But maybe you have the docking station be a little juiced up, do a little bit more than it currently does. Just that way, it's like, when you go mobile, sure, it can be at 900p or whatever. But then when you plug it in, man, that dock has like its own processing or something in it. I don't know all the bells and whistles, but just something in it to really upscale things to make it look beautiful when you're playing docked. So I'm with you. At some point, I think they need to compete, but unfortunately, we've kind of run out of time for today's podcast. As usual, it flew by way too quick. I know there were a couple topics at the beginning we said we were going to talk about. We didn't get to them. We do definitely want to talk about some of this, the sexual harassment claims and things that have really popped up here recently in the gaming industry. We'll definitely talk about that next week because I do think it's a very important and very sensitive topic that needs some visibility, and we definitely don't want to be ones who just try to ignore it and brush it under the carpet. So we'll talk about that a little bit in our next episode. But go ahead and get us wrapped up here.
We also had the AAA game budgets.
We do.
It's also a very interesting conversation, so we'll probably put that one on the next podcast too. But I know where Red was going, so let's go ahead. Let's wrap up. All these links will be in the description here. But you can support us on Patreon or PayPal. As we say, Patreon's a monthly thing. PayPal's just a one-off if you want to do that. If you can't support us financially, a review or a rating helps us greatly.
5 stars, baby.
Very easy to click 5 stars. I don't know if it's on all the podcast platforms, but if it is on the platform, it's very easy. And if you don't like us, we always say it's very easy to like and very easy to click that 5 stars. So help us out, baby. Help us out. And then we have merchandise on our websites. We may earn a commission if you go through our links. And we also have some good blogs on our website. So be sure to check them out. And then, Red, you want to kind of go ahead and wrap up with some of the other stuff we got going on?
Yep. Well, first of all, we're all over social media, starting with like Facebook. We've got 2 Facebook groups. We have Gaming Realm, where we talk about all gaming in general, of course. And then we have Zelda Realm, which we did start out as 2 guys playing Zelda. So our Zelda Realm is specifically for our Zelda talk. Yep. You can find us on YouTube, 2 guys playing Zelda and TGPZ Gaming out on YouTube. We have a Discord server where we have channels for PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, PC, general discussion, sports even, if that's what you want to talk about. And alcohol. Can't forget alcohol, but God, we forgot it today, that's for sure.
The No Beer podcast, just angry.
Yeah, and then you can also find us out on Twitter and on Instagram. We're a little less active on Instagram than we used to be, but we're pretty active on Twitter. And like we said, we're out there on Facebook. So thank you all for listening. I know a lot of states and stuff are going through some spikes in this whole COVID pandemic. I hope everyone's staying safe. All I can say is stay indoors, stay isolated, and play a lot of fucking video games, and let's beat this damn pandemic with the power of video games. Thank you for listening, everybody.